out how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
This is for the win.
Let's go! 3-run home run for Bryson Stott.
Fields giving time. End zone touchdown.
Acknowledge me.
And welcome, everyone, to the Debate Center here on the Bloodline Entertainment Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is your moderator, of course, the devious one I've seen with my other hosts today. Of course, I'm joined here with my familia, the family, the blood that runs through my veins, ladies and gentlemen. And that is, of course, the banger of all bangers himself, the one and only. He is the real TK, not the other TK, but we're not here to talk about that. This is something different. Ladies and gentlemen, the banger of the bangers.
Banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger.
Brings that banger. He brings it, baby. That is right.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's fucking go. That is right. That's right. And the man with the IQ himself that I finally the Jets made a decision finally. It got done, right? So we can say that it got done. That's right. Dan Baker, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the man, the notorious one himself, from the, of course, Philadelphia himself, Mr. Extreme, the DOM.
Oh shit, I get my own music here too. Oh! What up, Jordan?
Oh, that is right.
Great first in our hearts.
That's right.
De Niro, I knew you'd come. Let's fucking go.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, my devious brother.
Very welcome. You are very welcome. And shout out to everybody in the chat. Graydon, what is going on, my brother? Yes, you were first. Jordan, what is going on? De Niro, what is going on? And of course, my tribal chief, the Clark Street Wrestling Podcast. Streets, my boy. Hi, AaronRodgers. Does this TK have an announcement? Well, he's gonna have a lot of them announcements. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Gotta wait till the end of the show.
Ryan, what is going on?
Oh,
And that is
chef.
right. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this and if you're new to the Bloodline Entertainment Network YouTube channel, subscribe now. Hit that like, hit the subscribe button, get that notification bell. And if you're watching on Twitch as well, follow us on Twitch. If you're watching this on the Bloodline Entertainment Network, do not forget to follow us today. Follow us as we give you all the entertainment, and also not forget to go to bloodlightnetwork.com for all your needs, for all your sports articles, MMA articles, pro wrestling articles, anything you would like will be at our website all in one. That's what we are, the bloodlineentertainmentnetwork.com. Make sure you subscribe and go to the website, bloodlinenetwork.com.
It's sexy.
Very, very sexy. It's a banger. It is a banger. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're here to talk three topics here today on this debate center, and we have three sports talk to talk about it. So, we're going to start off, first of all, let's start off with some NBA, shall we? Let's do it. That is right. We got some NBA, ladies and gentlemen, as we're talking about the playoffs, baby. The playoffs are in set. We
talking about playoffs?
Yeah,
Playoffs?
Playoffs. That
Playoffs?
is right. We're here to talk about playoffs. And, of course, we already know what happened with today's schedule. Of course, we did see the AtlantaHawks surviving, avoiding elimination. So I was surprised that they avoided elimination against the Boston Celtics. And, of course, that end was in 119-117. Of course, TraeYoung did fantastically performance tonight. And then later on, we do have, which is starting as of right now, you do have who's avoiding elimination. You have the LA Clippers versus the Phoenix Suns. So they're on a, thin ice as well, as Kawhi Leonard is out indefinitely. So we're not going to see him at all. So now this is Russell Westbrook to, put up or shut up now. Let's see what he can do. Exactly right. And also we do have during halftime right now, we do have the Denver Nuggets, who are also leading 3-1 in their series against the Timberwolves as 48-47. But man, let's talk about, review what happened last night. The Lakers. Yes, that's right. I'm wearing the jersey for a reason, baby. That is right. Go Lakers, baby. That's right. Go Lakers. And I'm wearing the Kobe one. See, the Kobe number 8 and the 24 right behind me. But let's talk about the performance from last night's Lakers and the Grizzlies. So I'll take it to UTK. Break it down. Give us your review thoughts of the Lakers, Grizzlies, and overall the playoffs, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I said going into the playoffs, I said actually at the NBA trade deadline, when the Lakers made the moves that they did, bringing D'Lo in, bringing Beasley in, bringing Jared Vanderbilt in, trading for Hachimura, they completely revamped that team. LeBron just happened to be injured at the same time, getting his legs fresh, keeping him healthy for the playoffs. I said if Anthony Davis, who kept that team relevant and alive, he had a 20-game stretch where he was a top 3 MVP candidate of the season. So I said if LeBron came back healthy, if AD was healthy and those role players locked in, the Lakers could go to the finals, as crazy as that sounds. Do I think they're going to go to the finals? No. But do I think they're going to beat this Grizzlies team who chirps way too much without ever doing anything? Absolutely. Lakers move on. The Dubs, you want to look, and then you got to talk about who they would play next. You got the Dubs, you got the Kings. Wow, Kings go up 2-0 on the Dubs. Dubs come back. They tie the series. De'Aaron Fox is hurt, though. Hurt. He's got an injury on his shooting hand, his left hand on his index finger. He's not going to be able to play. He's probably going to be ruled out for Game 5. That is huge. Is someone who roots for the Dubs, because as a Chicago sports fan, it's miserable. Like obviously I root for my teams, but I need a Patrick Mahomes to root for. I need a Steph Curry to root for. So I like the Dubs. I root for the Dubs. But you never want to see a guy like De'Aaron Fox get injured, and that's how you win a series. That's awful. So I feel for the Kings in a big, big, big way. Who knows? Maybe the Dubs won't win. I do think they will. Lakers, Dubs next round. Ooh-wee. Let's go. The Suns. That team right there, the Phoenix Suns, will be the team to get out of the West. The Dubs and the Lakers are going to beat each other up. Phoenix, KD, healthy. I've said for years, he's the best player in the league. You got CP3, he's finally going to do his thing. Devin Booker's putting up 30 points a game already. That trio right there is the best trio in the NBA. They'll go to the finals from the West. The East is a crapshoot. Oh, my God. What Jimmy Butler did last night, putting up 56 points. He outscored the big three of Miami, 22-16, in lieu of an 11-point comeback against Milwaukee, going up 3-1 in that series. On verge of becoming just the 6th team all time to be the 8th seed, to beat a 1 seed. Crazy if that happens. I don't know if it will, but that's crazy. The other series, Boston. TraeYoung just hit a 30-foot game winner to take it to 6. Wild. Philadelphia, your boys. I'll let you talk about them and the Embiid stuff. I love Philly. I think James Harden and Embiid click well, but it's Boston. Boston's the deepest team in the East. I love what the New York Knicks are doing against Cleveland. Jalen Brunson, that's a great hustle story. The Knicks beat the Heat 4-3 in the regular season. So if it comes down to the Knicks and the Heat next round, the Knicks could get to the conference finals, as crazy as that sounds. I don't think it matters. Boston's coming out of the East. Phoenix is coming out of the West. Phoenix is winning the NBA championship this year.
Oh, all right. That was a banger, man. That is right. All right. Bagley, give us your take.
There's a lot of points to go with the playoffs so far. Of course, Jimmy Buckets, 56 points. You hit the nail. He had 19 points just in the first quarter. I actually think he finished with like 22 points. He couldn't miss. He even had that shot where he just threw it up and it went in, and he had at the end one foul towards it, and they just kept picking away. But I just feel like there's something missing with the Bucks. Maybe it's at guard, because they're not getting much from there. They're getting a lot as expected from Brook Lopez. He's doing more than expected. He had 34 points last night. Giannis only had like 22, 23. Chris Middleton has been the guy where he's supposed to be the number 2, but ever since he came back from that major injury, he hasn't been the same. He's only averaged 10 to 15 points when they rely on him to score on 20 to 25, maybe a little bit less, but he's not doing that. So between him and the guard position, they're not getting a lot of production, and then the bench. They're not getting a lot from the bench. They're getting more from Grayson Allen than I've expected. Then you bring up, of course, the Lakers. We haven't talked about the fact that one of the big moves they made was move Austin Reeves into the starting lineup. He's a guy that can score. They had him at the 6th man. They made the move once LeBron got hurt. They moved him in. He had 23 points last night. He was second on the team in scoring. So they're getting a lot more production out of him than they were in the beginning of the season because of the injury. So that injury kind of helped them out there. And Anthony Davis is staying healthy. The Lakers are great when he is healthy. He is basically the number 1 option there. LeBron, even though LeBron has all that production, he kind of wants to be the sidekick right now. But yesterday he kicked into action. He became the number 1 with the inconsistencies of Davis last game, and he killed it, 22 and 20. The oldest guy to ever get 20 and 20 in the NBA at 38 years old. That's a point to think about there. He's able to, with all those time missed due to injury, his body, even though it's breaking down a little bit, he's a little bit like healthy. He's rested. He can play this playoff thing. The fact that they were able to make it in with him missing 20-plus games is a testament to the guys that they trade for. They got guys that have their skill set. It's not they're trying to put all these alpha males on a team and try and win. They got guys that play defense, Vanderbilt. They got guys that shoot, Reeves. They got Hachimura who can shoot off the bench. They got different guys that can do different things. And I think just the way it matched up, Memphis has had a lot of problems the last month with, of course, John Morant and the guns situation. You got Dylan Brooks. He's always mouthing off. But they're still playing well. They're still able to make the playoffs. It's just that now they're not getting the production every game out of John Morant. John Morant had a down game yesterday. If he would have just stepped up, they probably would have won that game. But they were lucky to get Desmond Bane to get 35 points. You got the Sixers. The Sixers were able to sweep a pretty easy series, I think, in the Nets. The Nets challenged them in games 3 and 4, but they were able to win without Embiid. Embiid has a knee issue. He's going to be wearing a brace starting next series. He's hoping to play game 1. The longer these series go, the better it is for him. The fact that they were able to sweep the Nets was a good thing. And you saw a lot out of Tobias Harris. That's a guy that I'm like, you're finally getting to see what he can do with the shooting. He's averaging 20 points a game through the 4 games. You're getting the production out of him. Harden was able to be more of a facilitator game 4. He had 17 and 11. You're getting Maxey, who's getting back in the form after coming off the bench. Now he's in the starting lineup again. There's still questions about the bench and the consistency of the team, but they're just hoping that with maybe the Hawks make it, because they always have a battle with the Boston Celtics. It's always hard with how their depth is. The Boston Celtics have a deep bench. They got guys on the bench that can start on any other team. Then you got that series. We always talk about Luka Doncic, but man, TraeYoung doesn't get the credit he deserves on that Hawks team. You pair him with DeJounte Murray, a guy who was on the lowly Spurs teams after they broke up that team. He's producing with them, but TraeYoung has broken out. Every year he makes it to the playoffs somehow with teams that you don't expect. He's playing well. You talked about it tonight. Hit the game-winning shot. He's able to extend the series. Now that series goes into Atlanta, where Atlanta could do that one and force in the Game 7. Once you get to Game 7, anything goes. You got Denver. As expected, they're up 3-1. You got Nikola Jokic playing great, averaging almost a triple-double in the playoffs. They should finish it out tonight. You got that Suns and Clippers series has been kind of a dud to me. You look at it from the beginning, you're like, oh, this is going to be good. But injuries have rattled that series. I felt like if the Clippers were healthy, they probably could have upset the Suns. The Suns aren't playing that great. They're just feasting on a injury-prone team. You do have Devin Booker who's balling out, but I don't feel like Kevin Durant has stepped up to what he should be. I feel like he's missing something on a team because he's still trying to gel with Chris Paul and Booker because they haven't been on the court that long this season. So I feel like they're going to advance, but they might struggle in the next round against whoever they're matched up with because of that. You got teams that have played with each other all season, but then you got the Suns who haven't. So you can get up on them early if you just stay healthy and you play consistent. And who am I missing? I think what other series am I missing? I think that's it.
I mean, the only one that we're really sleeping on, to be honest, is the New York Knicks. Those are the ones that we're really sleeping on. Jalen Brunson performance, it's like I said, the Knicks right now are the sleepers ones, and nobody's talking about it.
And the Cavs are relying too much on Mitchell. He's shooting 35 shots a game. I always say you can never rely on a guy to shoot that much, and when your next closest guy shooting wise only has 13 shots. You can't. That's a team that made it this far because of spreading the wealth on that team. You got great big men. You got great guards. You got Darius Garland, who is a very underrated point guard on that team, and he's not getting the shots that's needed. They need to stop relying on Mitchell and have trust in the rest of the team to produce, and they need to play better defense. I'm not seeing defense out of that team. A team like the Knicks, who are just gelling at the right time. They started out so, but they've been hot the last month or so. You got, like you said, you got Brunson, you got Julius Randle. They're playing out of their minds right now.
RJ Barrett played great in Game 3. The fact
that Barrett can be the 3 instead of the 1 or the 2 fits him very well.
Yeah, because he picked up Julius Randle's slack. Randle had a horrible game, and there was Barrett picking up his slack, just like you mentioned, Anthony Davis. Awful game last night. LeBron says, screw it. I'll be the alpha tonight. I'll go 20 and 20. I'll do what I got to do, dude. So, I love that. Great point, dude.
Yeah, he doesn't have to, just like you said, you don't have to be the one. When one of the 1 or the 2s fall down the race side for a game, the other guy can pick him up and take the production and run with it. And with RJ Barrett playing as he is, that gives him a third option scoring wise. But like no one talks about the Jalen Brunson signing as much as they should. This guy, ever since going on that team, has averaged 20 points a game. The reason that the Mavs made that big run last year was because of him. Doncic, you knew what you were going to get out of him, but Brunson played out of his mind as like a second option to him. I said that when they didn't re-sign him, they were going to regret it. And then they come in bringing Kyrie Irving. And ever since the Mavs brought in Kyrie Irving, they went, I think, 2-12 or 2-11. And they dropped from the 4th seed in the playoffs to out of the playoffs. They just didn't gel together. And Brunson knew what his role was. He was going to be the 2 to Doncic's 1, and he would score, and then they just gelled together, and he played defense. And then he moves to the Knicks, and he's kind of the same thing, but he's the guard there. He's the guard, whereas Randall's the 1, but he's the big man. And they just worked well together. It took them 20 games to mesh, and now they found their roles on that team. And you talk about Tom Thibodeau. He's kind of broken out of that mentality. Tim would know, where he only plays the starting lineup and maybe one bench guy, and that's it. And he plays them heavy minutes. He's kind of done a better job of using his bench more. He goes 8-9 guys deep, and that's helped that Knicks team. And with the fan base there, which is rowdy as ever, it helps that team out. It gets the team going, and they should be able to close it out, I believe, tomorrow.
Ooh, in Cleveland.
That's right. All right. TOM.
My man. I mean, what did you guys leave for me? Shit. No, seriously, though. Newsflash, boys and girls. LeBron James is still LeBron James. I mean, 20-20 to go up 3-1. And I love that Grizzlies team. I love John Morant, but they are young, dumb, and, well, I'm just going to let the viewers and the listeners finish that statement. There is some serious trouble if they can get these kind of games out of LeBron James, and even if they can't, then they got to hurt. Then they worry about AD turning it on. best series in the playoffs so far has got to be Kings Warriors, and it would be a damn shame if that were to just end because of Fox's injury. I would cry. I picked the Suns to come out of the West. It's looking like a given at this point, but we'll see. I mean, Russell Westbrook has looked better with the Clippers, but it just ain't enough without Kawhi. Like you're putting off the inevitable. Now, as far as the Sixers, I know they're looking for Atlanta to take this to 7 games, or at least I think. And I know I'd love to see them take that to 7 games because I need my man to sit back, relax, get that knee right. So let's go Hawks because A, it gives Embiid all the time in the world, or at least he's going to get to sit back and get that knee together. And B, it gives us a shot at revenge in the next round for them knocking us out. So that would be dope. And the Knicks are playing some inspired basketball. Like Bakley hit the nail on the head. Julius Randle is usually the number one, and everybody works off of him. He struggled mightily, and the guys around him, whether it be Brunson, R.J. Barrett, picked it up, took over the game, and helped them cruise into a decently comfortable lead. I think they finished that out. I really do. I don't think Cleveland's got it this year. I think Bakley touched on it too. They're just relying too much on Donovan Mitchell, and that's not where they came from. I think the Bucks are in a situation like the Sixers were in last year, where even though you're fighting, every time you turn around, somebody's either getting hurt or getting nicked up. You got Giannis had his problems. Now you got Middleton. You got a few other guys on that team. We were in that position last year. Embiid gets hurt going into the second round. Then we get to the second round, Harden gets hurt. And, eventually there's just not enough stars, not enough talent in playoff basketball to get the job done, regardless of what you could have accomplished if healthy. And I loved, even though they were tested at the end of that series, I loved the fact that the Sixers without Embiid, even with James Harden and Tyrese Maxey shooting a combined, 10 of 38? Managed to pick up a huge win in the second half. They played tremendous defense. Tobias Harris took over. And honestly, I got to give a huge shout out to DeAndre Melton. He took over the fourth quarter of that game and could not miss. I think he had maybe all of his 15 points, maybe all of them in the fourth quarter to put that game away. Hit a dagger 3 right before Tobias Harris put another nail in the coffin.
Don't forget Paul Reed, who had
Paulie buckets, baby.
10 points, 15 rebounds.
He definitely stepped up for Embiid and played a big game. And that bench throughout the season it was kind of like Shake Milton and everybody else. Now all of a sudden you're starting to see a few other guys come off that bench and be in bigger roles in playoff situations. And actually perform up to par. And I love that. I love seeing Tobias Harris step up. I mean, 11 of 19 in game 4, 22 points. He led the way, but I'm hoping for 7 games with Boston and Atlanta. I'm hoping for Atlanta to win. I think the Bucks are going to get knocked off. I just don't think they're healthy enough to manage to hold off Jimmy Buckets, who I wish if we could go. Can we jump in a DeLorean, go back in time, and keep Jimmy fucking Butler? Can we do that, please? I love that man in Philly.
Can you think of the
and
fact that a team like
goddamn
that
shot from fucking Kawhi? I know it's forever ago, guys. I'm sorry, but that shot from Kawhi that hit the rim like 19 times and rolled the fuck in to eliminate us. Oh, and then Jimmy's going and looking at him now. I love that, man. I wish we would have kept him around. I might have a small bro crush on Jimmy Butler. I'm not going to lie. Jimmy Buckets hit me. Other than Nipplemania, that's all I got. I'm done. It's been a fantastic first round so far. And I'm just hoping that the Sixers can get Embiid right for the second round.
Love it.
Can you imagine the fact of 2 points? There's 2 points that I have with the Bulls are the ones that should have made it, but when you got the Heat lost to the Hawks in the play-in game, the first game. Then they had to go in and play the Bulls. Everybody thought that the Bulls were going to win. I thought they were going to win, and then Jimmy Butler and the Heat played out of their minds and won that game just to get the 8th seed.
Well, Miami was 5.5 point favorites going into that game. First of all, second of all, we were winning by like 11 in the fourth quarter and just absolutely. I don't even want to talk about it. Like Brian said,
but then they go into the Bucks series. They lose Tyler Hero for the playoffs. They lose Victor Oladipo for the playoffs. Essentially, so it's two guys, and that's why Jimmy Butler has had to do so much production. It's actually worked for them. But it makes me think of, I think it was game 2. Imagine if Giannis actually played that game and didn't get hurt. That was a game that the Heat came in and won after stealing game 1. So they put them up 2-0, I believe it was. Imagine if it was 1-1. Imagine if then the Bucks go and keep their lead last night. We could be talking about the Bucks being up 3-1 instead of down 3-1. That's how crazy that series has been between, mainly because of injuries to both teams.
This is the third time since the bubble these teams have played against each other in the playoffs. There's a lot of history there. Miami upset Milwaukee in the bubble to get to the finals. Milwaukee beat Miami in route. I believe it was in the first round, but they beat them in route to win the championship that year. And here we are again. So
we talk about them every year. They come in, they play a season where half their team is hurt. Even Jimmy Butler missed 15 or 20 games, but then they just somehow stay somewhat healthy for the playoff run, and then they make a deep run. This is a team that, with the schedule that they have, they could beat the Bucks and they match up against the Knicks, just like you said, which is a good series for the Heat to play against the Knicks because the Heat match up well against them, and that's a series that could go 7 games. They could make a deep run. They could even make the NBA Finals as an 8 seed because of the pieces that they have. I always say that the only reason they were an 8 seed is because of injuries to Butler, to Bam, to Tyler Hero, to the whole starting lineup. They had a point in time where only one starter was on the court for 5 games. And now that they're healthy, watch out for them because I feel like they could upset another team if they can close this out game 5.
Absolutely. I mean, these playoffs are really have gone really interesting, and I'm excited. If we look at the bracket here, look what we have so far. I mean, it's exciting to see. I mean, I'm saying as Lakers. Everybody, questioning Game 7, but I think tomorrow they'll close it out, and I think they can close it out tomorrow. But I do love the fact that Dom made a good point about the Golden State and Sacramento. I am loving that series because it's exciting. Finally, we get to see the Kings, who has not been in the playoffs. It's been 17 years, I believe has been the last time. So it's been a long time.
We're talking Chris Webber.
And I'm looking forward to see the matchup between the Knicks and Miami if they, obviously if Miami closes it out as well. I think the Knicks and Miami is going to be a fun series to see. Of course, Sixers and Celtics, that's going to be fun to see as well. We'll see how that turns out, with the Celtics. Phoenix looks like Phoenix, Denver. So it looks like in the Western Conference we could see Lakers, Phoenix in the Eastern. I feel that's the one that I'm really, I don't know. Can we see Jimmy Butler again back into the finals, or could we see Embiid finally getting his momentum being into the finals because he can never go over that hump? That's the biggest question there. And mind you, that his issues is always with the Celtics. That's always going to be a concern there. I mean, with them and the Celtics. But it's an exciting playoffs. I'm happy. I'm excited to see it. Shout out to Will Gray. What is going on, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Will?
So much. Yes, it's good to see the Kings being up. Absolutely.
At least we're talking playoffs and not practice.
I got a good question, and it's about Embiid and the Sixers. If they can't get past the Boston Celtics this postseason, do you blow it up? Because this would be the 3rd or 4th straight year that they would lose to the Celtics in the playoffs.
Yeah, James Harden's going to Houston next year, so it doesn't. I mean, your team's not going to be good anyway. I mean, I'm sure you'll be good because you have Embiid, but you're not going to be NBA champion good because your number 2 option, is going to go back to Houston. I'm really pretty certain of that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we are down for that topic. Now it's time to get it into the second topic of the night, ladies and gentlemen. We're switching it up over here. So now it's time to get some football. That is right.
Music.
Oh, that's old school music.
Oh,
yes,
I love
ladies
that
and
shit.
gentlemen, we are here to talk about, of course, the trade that happened 24 hours ago that still has not been completely finalized. I believe it will be finalized by this evening. And hopefully we get to see Aaron Rodgers in the press conference soon as a New York Jet at his uniform, as he is officially has been traded to the New York Jets. And let's take a look at what was the package deal. So let me go ahead and play this video for you guys so you guys can see what was the package. As you saw that, what an amazing package the Packers got in return for Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, you're especially having a conditional second round pick from 2024. That if Aaron Rodgers plays 65%, of course, it will be a number one draft pick for it. So
that good old 65%.
Yes, and so man,
got that Wentz number.
Yes, and of course he got his number 8 from his high school days before going to Cal State. But two questions here: thoughts about Aaron Rodgers' trade, and are the Jets considered as Super Bowl contenders? And also, if you look in the middle right here, gentlemen, I have the AFC East. AFC East right here is what I have. And as we see the AFC, all the AFC overall, we have the AFC North, South, East, and West. I have it all there. So does this make the Jets Super Bowl contenders? But first, let's start with the Aaron Rodgers trade. I'll take it to you, DOM. Give us your take. Break it down for us.
I mean, I know the Packers got a haul for Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, the Jets remain with a top 15 pick, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and then they even reworked his contract to make most of it a signing bonus. So they saved about $43 million in cap space, which means they can still go out and shop for pieces around this dude. And if you looked at them last year with Mike White, with Zach Wilson, even Joe Flacco in spaces, they were on the verge of a playoff team with probably the shittiest quarterback performance in the NFL. Robert Saleh has really come in there and revamped that defense into what Ivan is pretty familiar with in San Francisco, like made them literally to the point where they're beating Cleveland 9-6 in overtime because Zach Wilson can't move the fucking football. I mean, and to get a guy like this who was a little frustrated. I know people are comparing it to Brady in Tampa, but this just immediately throws me back to Brett Favre, hands down. Like he and the Packers organization were on the outs. He thought about retiring. The next thing you know, boom, Chad Pennington is gone and he's with the Jets. And the Jets had floundered the year before, turned around, made a playoff run, got eliminated, and then things kind of soured from there. It looks like at least the Jets organization has learned from that, the way they're dealing with Aaron Rodgers. Like, no, here, take your money. Take it. You want your high school number? Cool. We can't give you Joe Cool, but cool. Here, take number 8. Cool. Whatever. Pass the physical. We'll take this money. We'll go get whoever you want. Whatever you want. You write the check, homie. We'll sign. So at least they seem to have learned from there. And I don't know a better possibility for the Jets than Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it makes them a Super Bowl team, but it definitely makes them an AFC East contender immediately. I mean, they played, they played Josh Allen and the Bills pretty tough both times. Might even beat them last year, if I recall. It's not. And so to have, like I said, maybe some of the shittiest quarterback play in the NFL and be able to go beat the Buffalo Bills. And now you got Aaron Rodgers coming in the door. It's scary. I don't know if they can get by guys like Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't know if they can, get by some of these teams that have retooled. But when you look at their division, I mean, there's Josh Allen. Okay, cool. Bills are going to be a contender. But then you got the Patriots, and Maybe Mac Jones is starting. Maybe they take a flyer on Billy Zappi. Maybe they decide to have an actual offensive coordinator this year. That might work. Then you look at the Dolphins, and there's still reports that Tua is thinking about retiring. And if he does that, what do they have left? What, Teddy? Teddy Two Gloves to the rescue. So it really becomes a two-horse race. And with Aaron Rodgers, you got a damn good shot of pulling that division, being a top seed in the AFC, and then seeing where things go from there. Without him, you're probably 7-10 because your defense is badass. I think you muted Davis.
Go ahead, Bakley. Good thoughts.
Yeah, I thought it was a trade that worked well for both teams. Do I think the Jets are Super Bowl contenders? No, I think they still have holes on the team. You look at the offensive line. That's been a glaring weakness on that team for a couple of years, even with that the running game that they've had over that time. That's been good. Last year they got Breece Hall. He's coming off of a major injury. We don't even know when he's going to be back for this season. They had trade for James Robinson. Now he's gone. So I feel like that running back game might be iffy with the line, knowing that they need to focus on the line in the draft. And now they've moved back 2 spots and they've given up some draft capital. So they might not be able to unless they do in the first round. But they have given him weapons. They do have Garrett Wilson. They bring his guy, Alan Lazard. That's his go-to guy. He broke out a little bit last year, 700-plus yards, 6 touchdowns. He had a good season. He wasn't the number one that they wanted him to be, but he played well enough to be productive. And now he gets to be the number 2 on the team. He's a great blocker. They brought in another wide receiver weapon onto that team. They got 2 tight ends. They got a good defense. I feel like they can finish second on the team, but then you got to look at the Dolphins. If Tua comes back, he stays healthy, I still put the Dolphins over the Jets with that defense that they had. Look how bad they looked with that rookie quarterback playing in that playoff game, and they still almost had a chance to beat the Bills because of that defense and because of that running game that they have and that offensive line. If Tua stays healthy, the weapons on the outside with Waddle and Hill, I still favor them as the number 2 team in that division. But the Jets can click on all cylinders, maybe 2. But the Bills are the team that I have at the number 1 spot in that team. Just the weapons, the defense, the running game. They've kind of revamped that running game there in Buffalo. I feel like they're going to try and balance things out. That's something that the Jets, if you looked at Aaron Rodgers, he's always had issues with the running game, even when Aaron Jones was there. And you could say it's the play calling, but he wants the ball in his hands. He has the hero syndrome where he has to come from behind and win games. And when you have a team like he did last year in the Packers where they ran for over 2,000 yards with 2 running backs and they failed to make the playoffs because they couldn't find a happy medium between him passing the ball and running the ball. He's always had issues with that, and he might have to pass heavy with the questions on the running game. So I feel like that could be a big factor on that team because you know that defense is going to play out of their mind. But I still think that they're number 2, number 3 team in the division. It's crazy to say that the Patriots are my last place team in that division with how dominant that they were for the last 20 years. But now they've fallen on hard times since Brady leaving. And it looks like we got one more year before we can say that Mac Jones is a bust. Even though they've been able to bring in talent, they just haven't done it in the first couple rounds. The Patriots do in the mid rounds now. I think it's almost that time to where Bill Belichick probably has to call it quit soon. But it's going to be interesting to see how both sides move on from here because I don't know if you want me to talk about the Packers, but I think the Packers might be a sleeper team moving forward with what they've got. And I think that will pull it out and draft a wide receiver finally in the first round after trading Rodgers, which is crazy to think that was his main point of wanted to leave because they never give him talent around him, even though he had a number one receiver for the last 6-7 years, 2 top 20 running backs, a decent line, and like a good tight end. Like the rebuilding that defense. Like I never knew why that he wanted to leave there in the first place, but change of scenery happens. I think with the Packers, it was just they made the deal because they wanted to see what they had in Jordan Love. You fork over, kind of like in the sense the Eagles. They had that quarterback, but then they drafted one. And at some point when you have issues with your starting quarterback, you go, okay, I got this guy here. Maybe I need to see what I have in him. And he wanted out. They had to decide soon on the future of Jordan Love because he's coming into the 4th year. You got to think of that 5th-year option. They want to know what they have because they don't want to go into next year not knowing if he's good enough to be the guy or not, and then having to make that decision then. At least they now have a full year of Jordan Love being the starting quarterback. They can see what he has. They can surround him with talent now. They moved up from 15 to 13. They get a second rounder. They more than likely should have a first rounder next year if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. That's a big thing for them because then that's more assets to build on that team. And they can rely on the running game this year. Like I said, you got 2 running backs that almost both averaged that both had 1,000 yards on the season and over, I think, 20 touchdowns or 15 to 20 touchdowns. But they can outdo that this year. You just have Jordan Love who can be the guy that gets groomed. We fail to remember that Rodgers was in the same scenario as Jordan Love was. He was drafted in the first round, had to sit for 4 years behind a Hall of Famer, Brett Favre, who at that time left to go to said Jets.
Right.
The exact same scenario. And Rodgers played like shit in that 4 years as a backup in the preseason. And then once he became the starter, things just woke up and he became a Pro Bowl player. But it took like a year to get acclimated as a starter. But he played well under that team, and he turned into a Hall of Famer. Not saying that Jordan Love will, but this is his chance to make or break with that team. They can build around his strengths now and not have him come in and play under the shadow of AaronRodgers. And if he doesn't cut it, they got 2 first-rounders next year, and they can move on from him. His contract will be over, and then they can bring somebody else in. So I think it works out great for both teams.
Okay, indeed. Let's see. It's only fair when the Packers suck for a century. I don't make the rules. I'm due for it. Oh, man. Before I pass to you, TK, I just want to say myself, I think it's a good move on both sides. I agree. Bakley, you valid points. I feel now that we're going to see Green Bay repackaging, rebuilding, the whole organization itself now with, surrounding pieces around with Jordan Love, and especially with the picks that that they've received from the Jets. It can really, it's a whole rebuilding package for them. And not only that, it gives the opportunity to Matt LaFleur as well to develop how he wants to develop his quarterback, instead of of course seeing AaronRodgers switching the plays or not even going by the plays of what LaFleur provides him to. So now this is something that we're now going to see the actual performance of who is really Matt LaFleur. Now we're going to see that now with Jordan Love. So now we're going to see who he really is. And that's something that I'm invested in, and I'm intrigued to see, what Jordan Love is going to bring to the table now under the guidance of LaFleur, especially on that offense. So that's going to be very interesting to see. On the other hand, with the Jets, I think it's a good pickup. Like you mentioned, Lazard, how you mentioned that everyone that roster has. Even with this draft coming up, this Thursday, which they need to pick up a lineman, they need a center. They need I think they re-signed their center, but I think they really need to pretty much protect AaronRodgers, because at the age of 40, you never know. I mean, we've seen Tom Brady do it, but he's not Tom Brady. He's AaronRodgers. So this is different now. So we'll see. The chemistry. Let's see if he shows us with the OTAs. Let's see how much of a mark he's going to make for that organization, and how he's going to help it elevate it where it's supposed to be. It has been for quite some time. In regards to the division itself, I honestly see the only two is the Bills and the Jets. I really don't see Miami. I think Tua might be in jeopardy here of his health. I don't think he's going to be 100%. I mean, even though they have a hell of a depth of roster as well, and Miami could, have, they could be potential playoffs. In the playoffs, it could be the wild card. But I feel that the first two leaders will be the Jets and the Bills. The Patriots, yeah, I agree. I think Bill Belichick, this may be his last year. I think this is going to be the last opportunity for him. I think Kraft is already noticing that he needs to think ahead of the future of the organization instead of sticking with the past. I love Belichick's mindset of defense, but it's already done with. You're how many rings do you have already? Your career, you've done such great, tremendous job for that organization. I think it's time for you to move on. I think it's either be an analyst or just stay at home, retire. That's the best thing for Belichick. I don't think he should embarrass his career, more enough that it's already not making it to the playoffs, showing us to the world that you can't do it without Brady. And of course, if Brady retired, I hope he retires along, follow his footsteps. In regards to the AFC all overall, my thoughts, I feel Rodgers to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't see it. You're still going to have Kansas City, who's going to be a problem. And mind you, San Diego, LA Chargers, they're going to be a problem because people are sleeping on the LA Chargers of what they have picked up during the offseason and what they're going to do. I think the AFC West is going to come out strong in try to make into these playoffs and taking those playoff spots away from the rest of the divisions. But I feel that AFC West is going to come out really strong this season. And I also want to see what Houston's going to do, and we'll get into that through the last topic of that. But other than that, I feel it's a win-win for both of these organizations. Now we're going to see the future, and now we're going to see trying to find words how to put it for Rodgers and the Jets. I guess now you're in New York, baby. So now is your time to shine for New York. Now you're in the Big Apple, so let's see what you can do. Let's see, can you be the face of that franchise? Like Joe Namath did it, Favre did it for quite some time. Even though I saw Graydon's comments saying, "Oh yeah, he's following his footsteps." Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, where else would he wanted to go? Not with the Niners, I'll tell you that. I would not want him with the Niners. No, no, because if you're not gonna follow the guidelines, of course, under Kyle Shanahan, then there's no need for you to be in that organization. No.
And they already stiffed him on draft day anyway.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Robert Saleh he's gonna have work to do. But the good thing for Rodgers, he is with his old coach. So he's his offensive coordinator, I believe it is. But so now, so he's already
Hackett.
Yeah, so he's back with Hackett. So they're already familiar with each other. So we'll see how it turns out. The chemistry I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen all in 1 year. I don't think so. They'll make it to the playoffs, yes. Super Bowl, no, I don't see it. But yes, best for last. The man with the hour, the man with the knowledge himself, TK. Talk to the thing.
Oh man! So this trade, as a Bears fan, probably went down as a top 10 moment in Bears history, only because the owner of the team sold it. Right? The owner sold the team. Me, I'm not like most Bears fans. I don't get salty when he says he owns us. The motherfucking man owns us. 24-5 against us or something like that. And listen, that man has caused me some misery. We lost in the NFC Championship to our arch nemesis. There was this Chris Conti game, I call it, where all we had to do was beat them and we'd be 9-7 or 8-7-1, and we would go to the playoffs. We were winning by 5. Rodgers throws a Hail Mary on 4th and 11 over Chris Conti to Randall Cobb for a touchdown. Packers make the playoffs, and I think they win a game or two once they get in there. And I'm just like, you know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, you could look at it like his career is starting to regress. And I kind of wish, in a weird, fucked up way, and our streets is saying, get goodbye, get out of here. In a weird way, I almost kind of wish that I got to watch the demise of him happen in front of us while Green Bay was miserable. Because they were miserable with him. He was miserable being there. They were 9-8 last year. They were never going to get any better with him. So let them suck. Keep him there and let them be unhappy together. So me as a Bears fan, while I'm glad he's gone, the other side of me is like, they would have just continued to be miserable paying him $60 million a year. They would have been miserable. He would have been miserable being there, and they would have been miserable having them there. So as a Bears fan, I'm upset that their misery has now seated, and they've gone separate ways. So now I got to answer the question logically. From a trade aspect of it, sure, it was a great trade for the Packers. My God, you got out of a contract. I mean, they could have like made him sit in whatever, and he could have forced his way out next year. And instead, they're going to get, as you noted in that beautiful little screen earlier, they're getting a second-round pick. They got the flip of picks this year, so they can go and get a wide receiver of their choice. They're going to likely get a first-round pick next year out of it. What a haul for a 40-year-old quarterback that you didn't want there anyway. So for the Packers side of things, A+++. Great trade for them. Now flip it to the Jets side of things. I don't hate it for them. At the end of the day, it's a second round and a 24 first, which at the end of the day, if you think that there's a guy out there who will win you a Super Bowl, go and do it. If you got to pay 3 first, go and do it. And we wanted Russ Wilson. I would have paid 3 first, 4 first. I didn't care. We saw how that worked out last year. But, that's what I would have done. These guys all aren't Tom Brady. I'm sorry. People's bodies, they start to age. They start to get bad. I mean, Rodgers last year still had 3,900 yards passing. He had 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He still had a good year passing. A lot of that, though, was just dumps. He dumped to his running backs a lot. That offense was based around that. Yeah. So when I want to talk about Green Bay really quick, this Green Bay team, I don't know how much they're going to be affected by losing him on the field. When you look at them on the field, the numbers, all right, fine, 3,900 yards passing. I'd give anything for 3,900 yards passing as a Bears fan. We never, ever do I think Jordan Love's going to throw for 3,900 yards? Probably
maybe this
not.
year.
The way the offense is going to be suited is going to be around Jordan Love's skill sets. Like Bakley said, they're going to be run heavy. They're going to dump to running backs. They're going to run heavy screen action to Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs is a really good wide receiver, and Bakley and I have talked about this in the past. The reason Rodgers has been so damn unhappy is because they didn't do anything to make him happy. Why? LaFleur comes in. He wants to show how big his balls are. So he's like, hey, I'm here. I'm drafting a fucking quarterback in the first round and a running back in the second round when I got AaronRodgers and Aaron Jones. What are you doing? Go out there and put talent around those guys. Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins. Go and put players around those guys. Okay, so this guy is unhappy. He's going to leave. Going back to Green Bay. You said it. It's all on Matt LaFleur. We're going to see what Matt LaFleur's really got. We'll see what Jordan Love's got, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be more on Matt LaFleur, and is he really a good offensive-minded coach to put this kid in a situation? Then at number 12, they're going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba. If he is there, I would 110% guarantee Green Bay is going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba, and then you're going to put Jordan Love with a guy who runs the best routes coming out of college in like fucking 5 years, or maybe, I don't know,
maybe a decade.
Guy, but since like Justin Jefferson. So you're going to have the best route runner since like Justin Jefferson coming out of college, dude. This kid is insane. So then he'll go to Green Bay, and Jordan Love will have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers with JSN, Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs. Not so bad. Talk about the offensive line there. Green Bay's offensive line only allowed 32 sacks last year. New York's offensive line allowed 42 sacks last year. Let's talk about the defense. New York's defense did allow 18 points per game only. Green Bay's defense only allowed 21.3 points a game. So it's not even like all these other factors are off. Wide receiver, sure. Going over to New York now. Garrett Wilson is an alpha. But like I just said, if you're going to get JSN in Green Bay, you're right there. Ohio State, wide receiver Garrett Wilson, fantasy football. If you're listening, you're a fantasy football player. Go get Garrett Wilson.
Go get this guy. Yeah.
Be a superstar this year. But at the end of the day, do I really think Green Bay is going to be affected on the field? No, they went 9-8 last year. How much worse could they be? I mean, sure, they could be 8-9, 7-10. I guess there are worse records, but they didn't make the playoffs. At the end of the day, if you don't make the playoffs, how much worse could you be than not making the playoffs? So then we're going to go and talk about the Jets and their production. on the field, or will they make the playoffs? Like I just said, the offense is nice. You got Breece Hall there. You got Garrett Wilson there. They just brought in Mecole Hardman. You got Alan Lazard. You got Corey Davis there. You have really nice pieces around him. Their offensive line allowed 42 sacks last year. Sure, it could be the stiffs who are holding onto the ball too long. But like Bakley said, you got to go out. You definitely got to get a tackle on that team and some interior offensive linemen to help keep Rodgers upright. Defense is great. Everything Dom said about Robert Saleh and that defense was spot on for sure. But look at that. Ivan, come on. You got we talked about Kansas City Chiefs. No one on this panel talked about the Cincinnati Bengals. Who are you kidding me? You got the Bengals. You still got the Bills and Josh Allen who are going to be hungry because I mean, I think like the whole DeMar thing screwed them and the Bengals last year. So you got two teams who are going to be extra hungry, two great quarterbacks right there. The Jaguars got better on paper again. Ivan, the Chargers, they just got Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. They were depleted and injury-ridden all over the field on offense and defense last year. They will be healthy this year. Denver is going to be better. They got Sean Payton. Russ ain't going to be doing fucking lunges on the plane anymore, all right? Yeah. He's going to have a structure around him. Denver is going to be a better football team. Miami, it doesn't matter if it's Tua, Teddy B, or Skylar Thompson. They got better on defense. Their offense is disgusting. They are going to be a very good team this year. And lastly, the Jets could have, theoretically speaking, went out and traded 2 first-round picks and got Lamar Jackson, signed him, and had a real quarterback of the future. But I do understand at the same time, $250 million plus a history of injuries, why they wouldn't want to do that. But there is always that factor that they could have gotten that or him as well. So overall, good trade for both teams, I guess. The Jets make the playoffs, maybe as a wild card team. They ain't fucking winning a game in the playoffs, though. Maybe as a wild card team. Rodgers is going to be on the decline down. He's not Tom Brady.
Exactly. And just to shout out to Buck Flair, I want to read his comment. So if wide receiver is so good, why is Stroud dropping in the draft? Media Jackson best wide receiver in the draft, but Green Bay needs a lot of help. Broder Jones, however, depends on if they want a tight end. So, okay. Let's see. If Eagles take, okay, so we're gonna get into that. That's gonna be the final topic of the night. So
I'll be a bigger fan of theirs, to be honest. Shout out to Sports Cruise, by the way. Love you, Buck.
Yes, and then Rodgers is an overglorified game manager of 2023. Yes, AFC Wild West division is. Yeah, I'm saying look
at the team last year. They have 2 running backs, and they didn't know how to manage the run game and the passing game because Rodgers always wanted to throw, always wanted to be the focal point. So whenever they got the running game going, they'd be doing good, but then he'd have to be the guy to win the games for him. He couldn't let Aaron Jones or Dylan be the guy. It had to be him. And then they had the one game where they ran great and they beat a big team at the time in Dallas. But then the next game, he goes and throws 35 passes in the game when he should have been throwing less. We'll find out if it was because of him or Matt LaFleur now. We'll find out now, but it was a thing for the past 3 years where you had a great running back. What's the issue when it comes to the playoffs when you don't use that running game? Now they're going to be able to use that running game, so we'll be able to see if Aaron Rodgers was right or he was wrong.
Until I saw Patrick Mahomes play football, Aaron Rodgers was the most skilled quarterback I have ever seen in my life. So now he's the second most skilled quarterback I've ever seen in my life. If he has any sort of balls, because I feel like there's something that's always been missing in him, which is why they only got 1 Super Bowl. But if he can somehow find that brain, heart, ball gene, maybe they can get to like the second round of the divisional round of the AFC playoffs. But no, man, he's done, like Street said, man. And Brian, last year I predicted all 4 of those teams from the AFC West to make the playoffs. I didn't realize that Josh McDaniels was such a pud. My God,
I could have told you that.
I mean, he proved it. I mean, where was he? With Denver. He proved it in Denver. He didn't do a damn thing. And
he won a playoff game with Tebow, so I thought he was like, okay. But he had like 15 years ago get himself better as an OC again. But no, yeah, pud. You guys pud.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see what McDaniels will do with Jimmy G now that they're both familiar with each other, and of course they've worked with each other alongside. This is a while back, but this is a different Jimmy G. You know, he comes from the mindset of what he had along with Kyle Shanahan, what he gave him all, give him everything to pick his brain, and I'm hoping that Jimmy G will actually show McDaniels here. Look. This is what I was taught at
so he's going to have to teach Skippy how to run an offense.
He's going to teach him how to run an offense. So that's why I feel like maybe that the AFC West is going to be strong, and it also depends on what they surround also with Jimmy G. I mean, even besides Devontae Adams, but still, they're just knowing what they're going to surround him. As in,
they don't have much. They got Devontae Adams. They signed Jacoby Myers to a 3-year, $33 million deal. They traded Darren Waller out of town. So
right.
Yeah, let's see. But the AFC South has flipped its Jags. It's 1-2 now for a while. Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see. I mean, but man, great stuff. Great stuff, man. I love it. Awesome stuff, gentlemen. Now it's time to get into the last topic of the night, so we'll close it out here. Now, before we get into this topic, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to, if you're new to this channel, follow us because we'll be here. That is right. We'll be here this Thursday. Live watch along for an incredible collab with the Mock Draft Guy. Make sure you follow both channels and also on Twitch. We will be live alongside with the Mock Draft Guy, doing a watch along for the NFL Draft, which is the last topic of the evening. We're going to get into a preview of it. That is right. It is time to talk about the NFL Draft. Of course, if you see on my screen right here, I have the top 10. I have, of course, Carolina number 1, Houston number 2, Arizona number 3, Colts number 4, 5 the Seattle Seahawks, 6 Detroit Lions, 7 the Vegas Raiders, 8 Atlanta Falcons, 9 Chicago Bears, and 10 the Philadelphia Eagles. The top 10 picks here. Now, man, it's getting exciting because it's going to happen within the next 48 hours. And once again, if you join us for the watch along, same time as the draft will come out, we'll be there. If you're watching us again on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us, add to the Mock Draft Guy as we're doing a fantastic collaboration doing this watch along. But we're going to give a little preview, which I want to hear these three gentlemen give their preview of these top 10 picks of what these top 10 teams should do with their first round picks. So I will start it off with the DOM once again. Give us your take. Or what are you excited for? And break it down for each one of these, if you can, who they should pick up.
Oh, man. I mean, you look at least Houston and Carolina, and you got to think quarterback. I mean, Carolina's going to go into next year with what? Baker Mayfield? Good luck. I know he wasn't half bad, but he wasn't half good either. Like they're using these number 1 retreads year in and year out between Darnold, Mayfield, whatever the fuck. Like take your own number 1. Take your own number 1 and go with that. And honestly, I know people are high on BryceYoung, but take Stroud. Don't go with the midget. Don't go with the midget. This dude is a decent size. He played at a huge school. He looked like he could make every read and every throw. And he's a little mobile too. So, he would fit in with, your offense in particular, even though coaching has changed up a little bit, run heavy. It's going to be tough without DJ Moore, but maybe they could work on something, later in the draft. The Texans, I mean, they got to take a quarterback. They got to. How many games last year were they just like rotating quarterbacks on different drives, even if there wasn't an injury? And both of them sucked. Both of them. One sucked worse than the other, and the other could kind of run, but typically got sacked. Like, they gave a game to the Cowboys. It was terrible. And so, yeah, that feels like where BryceYoung will land. And good luck, Houston. I'll feel for D'Amico Ryans. I love that dude. I know he was a former Texan, but he's also a former Eagle, and that dude has a special
former
place in my heart.
Niner.
Niners D coordinator. Yep. Love the guy. But if he gets strapped with BryceYoung, I guess he's better than what you got if he can see over the line. obviously the Cardinals got a quarterback who can kind of see over the line, so they don't really need to worry about that. I feel like offensive line would probably be a good move there. Like Kyler's been running for his life till he gets injured. The running game has fell off, even with that kind of Mike Leach, Red Rocket type run and shoot offense. I feel like line would be the best thing there. Seattle, I mean, anything on defense at this point. You found Geno Smith and you dusted him off, and somehow he had an all-world season. You got a couple of backs. You got a couple of receivers. Anything on defense, anything offensive line feels like the best way to go there. And you look at it, and the Lions, same thing, like defense, man. You had an offense putting up 40 points a game, and you were losing 41-40 9 times out of 10. Again, talk about retreads. You got a quarterback off the scrap heap, and he looked good, unlike some of the other ones like Carson Wentz. You got a couple of backs, and you added another one. Maybe a couple guys got caught gambling, and maybe that changes your strategy going into draft day, depending on suspensions, that type of shit. But I feel like defense, add to that side of the ball. You did it last year. It kind of worked. Continue. The Raiders, Jesus Christ. I mean, what do you do there? You just like, hey, who's available? We'll take that guy. Because what are you gonna do with? I know I love Jimmy G. I love Devontae. I love Jacobs at running back. He had a resurgence last year on a very bad team. But what the fuck are you gonna do with the until you fire your coach? That's pretty much what it boils down to. Because when you can make Derek Carr look worse than he did the year before, and he's probably going to look all world in New Orleans, this pick is going to be a wash. It's just like, hey, we'll bring somebody in, but it won't matter because Josh is going to have to coach him up. The Falcons are interesting here because maybe they found their guy in Ritter. They've got a couple backs. They lost out on the wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, who's going to be with, Jags this year. And maybe they go wide receiver again just to try to add some weapons around, to that offense with London and with, Christ. Completely just, but with Pitts, and Cordero Patterson and the guys in the backfield, I think you add another weapon and then you work on the line later on and you see what you've got in this kid since you've got him on a rookie deal. Bears, anything you can do to protect Justin Fields. You got him wide out. You've got a few picks. You got some cap room. Anything to put in front of Justin Fields so he doesn't have to run for 1,000 yards and still get sacked like 50 fucking times plus. That's the number one priority, and then you go from there. And the Eagles, I mean, yeah, we got Rashad Penny, and that's great. Yeah, we got some guys. I need Bijan. I need him. I gotta have him. I think it was an April Fool's joke where somebody said Zeke was coming to Philly, and I was like, "Oh man, I hate that motherfucker."
It's funny because
I don't want Zeke, draft. I want Bijan, and then when they said April Fool's, I said, "Good."
There's a lot of mock draft picks that the Eagles will pick up Bijan. That's what everybody's really predicting. This could be the case.
And they just had him on one of the shows, and he said that he would like to play at Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, as soon as they let Miles Sanders go, that was my pick there. And I skipped the Colts, didn't I? I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. I don't even care about the Colts. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
I feel Colts could
find a quarterback. Don't retread one again.
Hey, don't say that about the team that took Wentz from us and did us a favor.
Thank you for that.
That's how we got AJ Brown. Respect them.
Okay, thank you for that too. But still, just take a quarterback. Stop retreading these guys that work with Phillip Rivers and everybody else has been a fucking wash. Just a flat out fucker. Either draft a quarterback or go beg Andrew Luck to put a helmet back on because he's at least got fresh legs and a solid arm.
What's going on, Getcho? Appreciate you for tuning in, brother. Yeah, you never know, but I feel like maybe the Colts could make a trade. You never know. They might make a trade for that pick. And
The thing
I hear Lamar Jackson. That's what I hear.
I was just about to. The thing that I wondered is, are the Colts going to call Baltimore and say, like, what do you want for Lamar? We'll do like a sign and trade deal where we'll send this pick and whatever, you give us Lamar. That, imagine him and Jonathan Taylor.
Nasty.
That's nasty.
Nasty.
That's wicked. If Taylor is healthy, of course, but that's wicked.
Both of them, but together, nasty.
Both of them, yeah. I think the two of them could keep each other healthy, you know? I don't have to run as much with you here. Same here.
All right. Bakley, what do you got for me?
Let's not forget the one thing. You got Houston number 2. They're also number 12. So they got a second first-round pick right there at the end of that 10 spot. And that plays a big factor in what they do, because I think with Carolina, it all depends on who they go with. Is it Stroud? Is it BryceYoung? Is it an X factor where they trade back again? Because there's been reports that they kind of like Richardson, but they don't want to take about one. Just like there's been teams that are linked to Richardson, but they want to try and move back and get him. If Carolina goes with what the report is lately, which is BryceYoung, I think there's a 10% chance that you don't even see the Texans take a quarterback in round 1. I think there's a good chance, because if he's there, I think there's really strong reports that the Texans don't want CJStroud, and they would rather go Will Anderson, which I think would be the better pick. Because if you look at who their coach is, D'Amico Ryans, you look at Will Anderson, that's a big pickup for that defense that struggled at that position last year. They've struggled mightily there. You don't have to force a pick and take Stroud just because you need a quarterback. You can take Anderson there. You look at 12. We've talked about Green Bay taking Jackson Smith. What if the Texans went there at number 12? You get Will Anderson, you get Jackson Smith, you improve the defense, and then you get a big weapon on offense right there. And you could still go and get a guy like Hendon Hooker or Stetson Bennett in round 2 or 3. And I think you look at Hendon Hooker, that's a first-round talent. They don't even need to start him this year.
Hendon Hooker is fine. Stetson Bennett shouldn't be fucking drafted to the 6th round, if anything.
Yeah.
That dude's fucking older than Dom. That guy ain't shit.
I probably got a better arm too. Let's be real.
but I'm thinking like they got the first pick of the 2nd round. They could get Hendon Hooker there unless a team goes and takes him, like the Vikings of round 1, because that's a guy. You can still start Davis Mills this year. You add a weapon for wide receiver wise. You let Hendon Hooker sit and heal. He comes back next year. You got Hendon Hooker. You got Jackson Smith. They already have Nico Collins there, who's been learning the offense the last year and a half. You got a stud running back in Pierce. You revamped that O-line mightily this offseason. And that defense hasn't been too bad. It's just that I think they go BryceYoung at 2 if he's there. But if they don't, I seriously think that they go Will Anderson number 2. It just all depends on the Panthers. And it's kind of a trickle effect, because you got the wild card in Arizona who don't need a quarterback. They have Kyler Murray. So what are they going to do? Are they going to stay there and go defense? Or do they find a suitor to trade up and take their picks so they can get assets to improve that team, since they're under a new head coach, new system? You don't have that same offense that Kyler Murray is prone to playing. How's he going to do in that offense? There's a lot of questions in Arizona. So I could see a team like Indianapolis or somebody else, like there's been talks of the Vikings trying to do anything they can to move up, because they know this is probably the last year of Kirk Cousins, and they want to get a guy in place with the young talent that they have there. So there's a lot to play there. You hear the rumbles of the Indianapolis Colts. I think they can take quarterback. I think they reach on Will Levis. Will Levis has the skills, but I think he's raw. I think he tries too much. But I think they like the chances they have with him to let him have the job, groom. And with 2 guys already there, it's possible. But if CJStroud were to fall, it'd be interesting to see if they take Levis over him still, or if they go with Stroud, because then you get to the next pick in Seattle, who just signed Geno Smith. They could very well take a quarterback, knowing that they only have him for 3 years, and they could sit. If somehow Stroud falls, that is the perfect spot for him. He can sit there for 2 years, play behind a guy that has similar skills, learn under a guy in Pete Carroll who rejuvenized Geno Smith. They had a great season last year. No one expected the Seahawks to be anywhere near good last year, and it was because of Pete Carroll, head coach. He can develop guys well. Then you got the Lions. I think they go defense. I think that was their weakness. There's a chance that maybe they do go Bijan because they just let Williams go, and you see the injury issues with Swift there.
Shoosh, please.
You got the Raiders. I think the Raiders go Anthony Richardson. I think they need a quarterback. Has to be done. They shouldn't think of any other thing other than that. You got the Falcons. They actually are pretty good, decent on offense. Like Desmond Ridder, you got to see what he has with a full offseason as the guy. They brought in, of course, Heineke as the backup, but they got Drake London, first-round pick. They got Kyle Pitts, first-round pick. They got Cordell Patterson. They got a mid-round pick in Tyler Allgeier, who was a stud last year as a rookie running back. 1,000 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, came out of nowhere to do that. So they have a running back solidified. They need to work on the O-line a little bit. They're getting age in there in defense. That D-line, they had the least amount of sack pressure in the NFL last year. They need that. So I think they go D-line there. You got the Bears. I'm only going to say O-line because that's a big issue there. We know that the Bears are always going to be decent on defense, and they got the weapons on offense. They got 7 million tight ends on that team, and they just brought in wide receivers, and they got Khalil Herbert at running back. He's very underrated, yards per carry type of guy there. And, of course, Justin Fields, we don't need to say anything about him. He's a stud, top 10 quarterback this year, I believe. So I think they either go O-line or maybe defense. But I'm going to think that they're going to go O-line because the number one thing is protect the quarterback, protect your franchise guy, and they need to do it. They have a couple guys there, I feel like, but they definitely need to solidify that line, kind of like Houston did this offseason. That was the number one priority. Do anything they can to protect whoever the quarterback is, and I think that's what Chicago does. You got the Eagles. The Eagles have options. This is a team that just made the Super Bowl, and somehow they turned that Saints pick into a top 10 pick. They could go running back. They could go O-line. They've always been a team that want to focus on the trenches on the field because you want to have as much bodies as possible. So I think that's something because they don't have a right guard now. I think they're moving Cam Jurgens from center to right guard this season because we didn't expect Jason Kelce to return, to come back. So now that he's come back, you can move Cam Jurgens there, but maybe they draft a guy for right guard for the following season, knowing that Jason Kelce is not going to be there forever. He's talked about retiring for a couple of years now, so they plan ahead, just like they've done with some of their picks. 4 of the 5 linemen have been draft picks early in the drafts that they've selected, and then they've sat a year, and then they come in and they played at a Pro Bowl level. So maybe they do that. Maybe they go O-line. That's my thought process there. You don't need Bijan, but that's a luxury that you can choose to go. And that's really the only position there because they do need safety, but I think they could take that at 30 because I think safety, the only big safety is Brian Branch. After that, it drops from there. So I think maybe they look at that 30 if he's there, but I think they go O-line.
Love it, man. I love the chat tonight. It's getting hot, man. Thank you, Buck Flair, man, with all your analysts, man. Hey, love it. Appreciate you. Hey, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, brother. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah, please.
All right. Best for last, the man. What's up about IQ? I want to hear what this man got to say. I get.
This is the draft expert above me.
He is.
I wouldn't say an expert because no one's an expert, but you guys broke it down. You guys broke it down very, very well. You guys did a really nice job. So, first question from Buck, I think I saw in the chat earlier was like, why is CJStroud falling so much in? I don't understand it. After the combine, CJStroud was the number one player out of it, and Anthony Richardson was like up his ass. Now, listen, me personally, I thought BryceYoung was it. IT number one pick, period. I don't care if he's 5'4". He's a little guy. He is a little guy. But sometimes if a little guy's got it, little guy's got it. His player comps all go to Drew Brees, plus he's got mobility. Okay. And I'm not saying he's going to be Drew Brees because Drew Brees is the top 12 quarterback of all time. But damn, he can be half of Drew Brees plus mobility. This kid's going to be special. So BryceYoung, I get going. He would have been my pick. Halfway through this season, the Bears season, I'm sitting there like, fuck this, tank for Bryce, trade Fields, and then Fields just became fucking Justin Fields, the guy I thought we got out of the Ohio State University. He became that guy, all right? He became it. Just like I think Bryce is going to be. Bryce is going to be it. So, Carolina, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, DJ Moore, all to my Bears, from 9 to 1. They're going to take the guy they want, and I think it's BryceYoung. So go and take BryceYoung. Texans at 2. Now that's tough. Again, I don't quite get why CJStroud is falling down. Me personally, as the Ohio State fan, I don't think CJStroud is very special, to be honest with you. Like, I never saw it, and I don't get it. And I never got why he was supposed to be better than Bryce. And I kind of like that my vision of Bryce going 1 is probably going to happen. I don't know why Stroud's falling. And if all the rumors are true, Houston doesn't like Stroud. So Houston doesn't take Stroud. Then Houston takes the best player in this draft in Will Anderson. So Houston at 2 goes ahead and takes the best pass rusher, the best player in this draft, period, Will Anderson. It leaves number 3, Arizona. Street said it earlier. Kyler asked 3 years in a row for an offensive tackle. They didn't do it. As a matter of fact, in their last 20 draft picks, I believe they've only picked 1 offensive lineman. 2 offensive linemen who have started 2 snaps for them. Crazy stuff, dude. So do I think that they should go offensive tackle? Sure. Do I think they should do it at pick 3? Absolutely not. So what does that mean? I think the Titans have pick 11. So the Tennessee Titans are going to go ahead, trade up to pick 3. But they're not going to take CJStroud either. And again, I don't know anything. I'm no analyst. I know nothing. I read like everybody else. But from what I read, the Titans are in love with Will Levis. So that would leave at 3, the Tennessee Titans coming up, taking Will Levis. So we got Bryce, we got Will Anderson, now we got Will Levis, which leaves the Colts sitting there salivating. True. Like, oh my God, please let this happen. Because then they fall into CJStroud. So they're like the happiest people in the world. Yep. They're rejoicing. Jim Irsay has got a bottle of Crown Royal down, cigars all over the place.
Right. They are going parades in Indianapolis.
Yeah, they're going crazy celebrating, so they get CJStroud there. 5, Seattle, Jalen Carter. Easy pick. He is the second best player in this draft. Maybe they go Tyree Wilson because they don't want to deal with his character issues. So maybe they go Tyree Wilson, which is fine because if Seattle goes Tyree Wilson at pick 6, you know who can deal with character issues? Meet Campbell. Meet man Campbell. Okay.
Meat Campbell.
Yes. He will deal with Jalen Carter and make that man into a man. Okay. Yeah. So I personally want him to end up, I want him to fall to 9 because I want him. But I think like of his situation, that's the best spot for Jalen Carter to go. 7. Okay. You could go Anthony Richardson here. Sure. I personally don't think Anthony Richardson's going to be a good NFL quarterback. Oh, and I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. I don't think he's got any arm talent at all. I think he's a great athlete. But if he's Lamar light, no, why take him at pick 7? Go BPA. Your team's not very good. Hell, if you're not good this year, there's great quarterback coming out named Caleb Williams next year. Get in the running for Caleb Williams. Take Devon Witherspoon, the cornerback out of Illinois. Make your defense better. Go cornerback and take BPA there. Atlanta, that's tough. You want to go corner there with Christian Gonzalez? Do you want to go? No, I didn't miss Detroit. I got Jalen Carter going to Detroit, my dude. Jalen Carter, Detroit, 6. Thank you, my man. I appreciate you keeping me on track. But yeah, so I got Tyree Wilson going to Seattle. I got Jalen Carter going to Detroit. And then Devon Witherspoon going to Las Vegas. And then I think Christian Gonzalez is probably the guy for Atlanta, as he's the best defensive player available, and they need to go defense. So I'll go Christian Gonzalez there. They're hoping Tyree Wilson falls to them, though. Like, they are begging, pleading for Tyree Wilson to fall to them. Maybe they make a move up to try to go get him, but they want Tyree Wilson there. But I got Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, 1A, 1B for sure. So I think Oakland, Atlanta go there. The Bears, you guys are all going to be like, you're crazy. Yes, offensive line at this point is the best bet. Yes, we should go and get Paris Johnson because he's the only actual offensive tackle that's sitting there. Broderick Jones is a project. Peter Skoronski is a guard, okay? Yeah. I will freak out if we draft Peter Skoronski. We don't need a guard. We have 3 guards. We don't need a guard. Skoronski translates to guard in the NFL. Might be a great guard. He could be Zach Martin. Right now, we need BPA. So if it's not Paris Johnson, what I want to do is defend, and you're going to slap me.
Do we have the solo?
I want Jackson Smith-Njigba here, all right? Sure, we just traded for DJ Moore. Sure, we just traded for Chase Claypool. Pick 31. Shoot me in the head. Pick 31 went for Chase Claypool. And we have Darnell Mooney. But listen, Chase Claypool's contract's up after this year. Darnell Mooney's contract's up after this year. These guys aren't great football players. So everything I said about Jackson Smith-Njigba earlier, if you could add him with DJ Moore, that's a formidable 1-2. And then you pay one of Chase Claypool or Darnell Mooney, probably Claypool because you just traded a first-round pick for him, and then you let Mooney walk. Do I think they're going to do that? No, you need to protect the kid. You put Paris Johnson on the right, and our line did improve. We got the guy from Tennessee, Nate Davis, playing right guard. We're moving Cody Whitehair to center. You got Tevin Jenkins going to left guard. And Braxton Jones is a 5th-round rookie last year, rated PFF top 10 on the left side of the offensive line. So the line will be improved. I want Jackson Smith-Njigba. But I get why they go and protect him and build the trenches. And that's my top 10. And for all this analysis and more, make sure you tune in Thursday night right here on the Bloodline Entertainment Network live for the NFL Draft.
Yeah.
Baby.
The only reason why I got Paris Johnson to the Raiders, I think you could be right, was Jackson. If it feels has
I could see with the Raiders. I could see them go a corner with the fact that they got Jimmy G there, who's on contract for a year. Then he has the option for a second year. I remember that from Streets.
He'll pick it up. He's gonna pick it up.
I remember that from Streets the other day. You got to check out Streets and all of his content on Rotor Slappers. Great stuff. Always tune in for that because he knows his shit. And he needs to be on Thursday with the mock draft guy. That's what needs to happen.
He is our fantasy football correspondent, baby. So he will be on with us. Yes, sir.
I'm there for it.
And then
you should be too, folks.
Such good shit. And then Brian, he said, "Hey, Bloodline, what is the chance that next year's draft will be stronger than this weekend? Bears and Packers are getting all these picks in the offseason is a clue, I think." What do you guys think?
I think Denver is getting a first round or 2 from the Russ Wilson trade because they have 4. So I think that'll be the last year of that one. It should be good though because just like he says, you get a stud in Caleb Williams, he's gonna just be whoever gets him is gonna be great because that dude can pass, that dude can run, he has the vision, he has the arm strength, like dude. He could have came out this year and he might have been number 1. That's how good he is. I feel
he would have been. Oh no, he would have been.
No, he would
have. And he would have been number 1 last year, and he will be number 1 next year. And that's why the Texans are sitting there. Because if you think about it, the Texans get Willie Anderson and then a guy like Jackson Smith-Njigba at 12. Okay, so you got the 2 BPA. You go into next year as a crap team again, and you go for that 1 seed. And hopefully Lovie Smith isn't there anymore to gift the Bears the number 1 overall pick in the draft, dude, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, and then not only that, I mean, these next couple of years as well for the NCAA, there's a lot of changes coming within the next year too, because you're going to have a lot of the players, especially going to the big, you're going to have a lot of big teams, I would say. You have USC, UCLA, who are jumping into the to the Pac-10. starting next season. So it's gonna be
and you got Texas, Oklahoma jumping into the SEC.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very interesting. So the program's going to look really. I think the depth itself is going to. I think it's anybody's ball game, to be honest. All those moves,
gonna get wild.
It's going to get wild, and seeing the depth of these freshmen, I like I said, I don't know much. I watch as much as I can in college ball, but seeing just these freshmen this year, man, I think next year's NFL draft is going to be great too, compared to this one's too.
It's all because of the NIL, because you got teams that like you look at teams that are powerhouses that have the big time facilities to work in on the college level. Now with the NIL, teams are getting these players because of that. Like you look at Tennessee, they're able to bring in great quarterbacks just because they know how to use that. Yeah, you got other teams that say like USC and Alabama, the big time teams, they're going to be losing. They're still going to get not 80% of what they usually do, but they might not get 10 to 20% now because of the NIL. And it's going to make a little bit more of a balance to where even though they're still going to be the creme of the creme, you're going to have more teams rise up and play better. So it's going to be better overall competition. Yep. And that's going to create more opportunities for players who maybe they would have went to Georgia and sat for 3 years. But now they're going to go to a lesser team and play for 3 years as a starter because they're getting paid through the NIL.
Exactly.
You had two players.
I'm sure Nick Saban will have a heart attack over it, but I love it.
You had two teams. You had two quarterbacks in the NIL last year that were making more money than your boy in Cincinnati. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Then Burrow?
Burrow was only making $7 million last year, and the one kid from Miami who I think just transferred was making $7.5 million as a freshman or a sophomore through the NIL.
Jesus.
And I just want to say to my guy Buck Flair, as I said, the Ohio State's wide receiver, the best of the wide receivers from Ohio State's coming out next year, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's better than JSN, better than Drake London, better than Chris Olave, better than Garrett Wilson, dude. Like, this kid is the real deal, Holyfield. He probably going to be better than his dad, dude. His dad is – we know
it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me one bit.
Yeah.
That kid is legit.
Dude, it's exciting. This, besides this Thursday's draft, next year's going to be exciting. Next year's programs, everything else with the NIL, especially in place already for the NCAA to see now these college ball players getting paid and now actually seeing them develop their skills. It's a great time to be a NCAA and NFL football fan. I tell you that it is a great time. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time. It is that final. It is time to end the show here because it's already done. That is right. The debate is over here.
That's why we all went to our neutral corners.
Yes. That's why we went to the neutral corners because of that reason. So that's the only reason. That is right, baby. But we already thank you all very, very much for tuning in here on the Debate Center. Once again, for all of you guys who are new, who are watching, who are listening as well, subscribe to the Bloodline Entertainment Network YouTube channel and on Twitch. Follow us on all our social media platforms on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, the Bloodline Entertainment Network. You can find us there. Do not forget also, you want to get all these incredible articles, anything that you want to read from the world of sports, of mixed martial arts, of professional wrestling, also NFL mock drafts, and also MLB fantasy drafts, and of course, top matches of the week in pro wrestling, and a lot more coming once we get once the draft is done. Give our takes about it. Who did the best and bad decisions? So be expecting articles of those as well happening on the Bloodline Network. So go to bloodlinenetwork.com for your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to get everything there. And I would like to thank here my debaters here as they gave such good shit.
I'd
Breaking
like to
down
think I'm
everything.
a master debater. I'm just saying.
Sounds like Ryan Davis went down again. Yeah, Garcia went down.
Oh, that body shot.
That body shot. Yes. Oh man. But yes, once again Thursday. One. That's right. Thursday, baby. Join us this Thursday. Subscribe. So once again, this is the Devious YBC here with my other host. Of course, the banger of bangers, the TK, the real TK, and of course the notorious one, the notorious DOM, South Philly Cycle Dom, and the man with the IQ that this man knows his NILs. Who knows gets paid more better in the halves and 7.5 and under the half. He knows it all.
Where's the money? Where's the money?
Decimals and shit.
The decimals. That's why he is the man with the IQ. That is Dan Bakley from Cage by IQ as well. Thank you, Buck. We appreciate you very much. But tune in Thursday, Buck, so you catch the watch along. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you guys on the next one. And thank you for watching.